Friends, gather around because tonight we're talking about the Department of Veterans Affairs, or as President Trump allegedly calls it, that building with all the sad people. Now I know, government bureaucracy isn't exactly the sexiest topic, but stick with me because what's happening at the VA right now is a national disgrace. Starting in June, the VA is planning to fire over 80,000 workers. That's right, 80,000. To put that in perspective, that's more people than you'll find at a Nickelback concert, and it's all part of a larger cost-cutting campaign spearheaded by President Trump and his advisor Elon Musk, who apparently thinks you can solve America's problems the same way you build a rocket by firing anyone who isn't holding a wrench. The plan has been met with widespread outrage, and for good reason. Veterans groups, Democrats, even some Republicans, they're all saying these layoffs are a terrible idea. And a recent poll showed that 57% of Americans agree. Because here's the thing, the VA is already severely understaffed. These cuts aren't just about numbers on a spreadsheet, they're about real people, our veterans, who rely on the VA for healthcare, benefits, and support. And firing 80,000 workers is only going to make it harder for them to get the care they need and deserve. Now, the Trump administration claims these cuts are necessary to streamline the VA and make it more efficient. But let's be honest, folks, this has nothing to do with efficiency and everything to do with ideology. This is about shrinking the government, no matter the cost. Trump and Musk seem to view the federal workforce as a bloated bureaucracy full of lazy, overpaid workers. But that's simply not true. The vast majority of federal employees are hard-working, dedicated public servants who are just trying to do their jobs, and in the case of the VA, those jobs involve caring for the men and women who have served our country. But facts have never stopped the Trump administration before, and they're not stopping them now. They're pushing ahead with these cuts, despite warnings from experts that they will have devastating consequences for veterans and their families. It's a classic case of short-term thinking with potentially disastrous long-term consequences, and unfortunately, it's the American people who will end up paying the price. So, what will the impact of these layoffs be? Well, for starters, veterans can expect even longer wait times at VA hospitals, which are already notorious for their lengthy queues. Imagine waiting months for a doctor's appointment, only to find out that the clinic is short-staffed because half the nurses have been laid off. That's the reality facing veterans if these cuts go through. And it's not just healthcare that will be affected. The VA also provides a wide range of other services to veterans, from disability benefits to housing assistance to job training. These programs are already stretched thin, and firing 80,000 workers will only make matters worse. Senator Patty Murray, a Democrat from Washington state, put it best when she said these cuts are a full-scale, no-holds-barred assault on veterans. She's right. This is about more than just money. It's about our values as a nation. Do we really want to be the kind of country that balances the budget on the backs of the people who have sacrificed so much for us? And here's the kicker, folks. The VA is just the tip of the iceberg. The Trump administration is planning to slash funding and lay off workers across the entire federal government. We're talking about everything from the Environmental Protection Agency to the National Park Service to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Remember those government purchase cards that federal employees use to buy office supplies? Well, forget about it. They've been practically shut down with spending limits slashed to $1. That's right, $1. You can't even buy a decent cup of coffee with that. It's like the Trump administration is actively trying to dismantle the federal government piece by piece, and the worst part is they're doing it all under the guise of fiscal responsibility. But here's the truth, you can't cut your way to prosperity. These short-sighted cuts will have long-term consequences for all Americans, not just veterans. We're talking about a weaker economy, a dirtier environment, and a less safe and just society. So, what can we do about it? Well, for starters, we can call our elected officials and tell them to oppose these cuts. We can donate to veterans organizations that are fighting for the rights of our nation's heroes. And we can refuse to let this administration balance the budget on the backs of those who have already sacrificed so much. Because when it comes to our veterans, we must do better. We owe them that much.